guys, what's up? It's Ryan here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Magic Keyboard. I have the 11-inch 2018 iPad Pro, and I'm going to give you my experiences, my overall thoughts and opinions about, I'm going to be totally honest with all of you, the best keyboard case I have ever used, the best keyboard case I think on the market, and I think it's one of the keyboard cases that, people think it's too expensive, people think it's, overpriced, but my argument to that is you can't buy something that's better than this. You can't. It's physically not there. Trust me, I've been looking. There's nothing better than this case out there. So, in my opinion, not only are you paying a lot for it, but you're paying for the best keyboard out there and the best experience out there. I first want to talk about the trackpad because this is where a lot of people complain that's a little too small. In my opinion, it's actually not that small because Apple doesn't just want you to use the keyboard and trackpad. Apple also wants you to use the touchscreen, which actually I've been using the touchscreen more than the touchpad on here because of how ergonomic it is. It's actually like really usable. Like the touchscreen being at an angle maybe will throw some people off, as you can see. Because Apple's argument always was that, your hand gets tired doing this all the time. But in my opinion, it's actually very ergonomic. I think it's a lot more ergonomic than the laptop that's just like this, just like perpendicular. Where this one folds out like this, so it's a lot more ergonomic to scroll. That's also another effect for the floating design that I really enjoy. Another thing that I really enjoy about this keyboard case is the keyboard itself. The keyboard is the best keyboard I have ever used on anything ever. Point blank period. It's better than the 16-inch MacBook Pro in my opinion. I think that's because of the fact that it doesn't have any electronics on the bottom, so it feels a lot more clicky, and whenever you're on a table or something, I could type so quickly on here. I could type faster on here than the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I like the keyboard spacing on the 11-inch actually more than the 16-inch MacBook Pro. 16-inch MacBook Pro now feels a little bit like spaced out, like a little too spaced out in my opinion, which is kind of a weird complaint, but I kind of agree with myself on that one, is that I actually like the spacing more on this puppy. Maybe because I have smaller hands than usual, but I don't know. But I do have to say this keyboard case is incredible. Another feature that not a lot of people talk about is the USB-C port on the side here. The USB-C port, in my opinion, is one of the best functional advantages of this keyboard case. Apple was smart here. They were just like, okay, look, we don't want it just to be a keyboard case. It can also charge your iPad. And that also means that you can put a dongle on this side and charge it at the same exact time. And people thought it was only going to charge at 5 watts. That's actually not true. You can charge this thing, I think it's up to 10 watts. It's somewhere around there, but it definitely does charge pretty quickly through that port. Not as fast as if you use the direct port, but I think it's like 70 or 80% there. It's very, very close. Another thing I really enjoy about this case is the floating design. Not only does the floating design help with ergonomics, it also helps for functionality. In my opinion, it's a lot more useful than a 2-in-1 to really use the iPad for its fullest potential. You can just take it off, just like this, instead of, flipping it around and feeling the keyboard on the back. I think this is a way better solution because you could just use the tablet bare like this, and then once you want to put it in the case again, you just snap it on, just like that. And I think that that's a really cool feature, and that's one thing that I really enjoy about this thing that not a lot of people bring up, and it's something that I feel like the floating design has been hated on unfairly in my opinion, because I think the floating design is actually functional. Now, I'm going to get into a few complaints, and these complaints are not deal breakers by any means, but nothing is perfect in the world. We kind of have to accept that. But one thing that I do complain about on this keyboard case is the material it's made out of. I don't know how well you guys can see this, but on the inside, there's rips, and this is from age. I'll be honest, I have been picking at it a little bit. I do that sometimes, but it still should not age like this. I literally had to put hot glue inside of this because it was flapping out and I didn't want to cut it. I even saw the magnet right here. That's how bad it got. Also, the material itself attracts a lot of fingerprints. It also scratches very easily. This thing does not age super well, just the material itself. However, I don't think that's a deal breaker because of the fact that the keyboard case is so good and so well built inside, like internally, it's very, very well built, that I think it's not that big of a deal. I really don't think it is. Another thing that people complain about, which it's a little complaint from me, but I don't really get it, is not having a function key row. I personally don't get why people want this. Maybe it's because they want to quickly change their volume, their brightness from the keyboard itself. But one trick I found is just use the trackpad and go up here and swipe down, and you can do the same stuff that you could do with a function key row. And this, people bring this up too, is that the floating design doesn't really allow for a function key row. So even if they wanted to put one there, I don't think it would be super useful. So I understand why Apple doesn't do that. Also, on their smart keyboard, which they also sell, they don't have one on there either. So it'd be kind of like a design conflict between like their models. They want to keep it consistent. So I understand why they don't put a function key row. They also want to differentiate it from the MacBook as well. So those are a few reasons why I think Apple doesn't do that. I think the most logical is just because it's a floating design. It would be pretty much impractical to put that in. Another thing that I find really awesome about this keyboard is the trackpad, but not only just the trackpad, but the tracking and the clicking. The clicking on this trackpad feels incredible. I actually prefer it over the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I think it feels a lot more realistic, and I actually really enjoy the clicking on the iPad Pro. I also like how you can use a 2-finger click for a right click. I think that's really well done. And also the scrolling is so smooth. The glass surface on the trackpad is amazing. This trackpad, best trackpad I've ever used. Even though it's a little small, like I said before, I don't think the size is really what deters me away from this thing, because I can just use the touchscreen if I want to scroll. And it does sometimes get fatiguing just using the trackpad because of how small it is, but I just revert back to the touchscreen. I don't think having a small trackpad is that big of a deal on an iPad. If it was on a MacBook, then sure, because that's the only user interface that you can use. But on an iPad, you can use the screen, and you can touch the screen and scroll on the screen. And after using the iPad, I kind of want a touchscreen on a MacBook. I'm not even joking. Like, I would like that, Apple. Come on. But, yeah. So I hope you all enjoyed this video and the review of the Magic Keyboard. I do want to say a few things real quick that's unrelated to the Magic Keyboard. The reason why I haven't been posting that much this week and a few weeks, first of all, it's finals week for me, so it has been crazy. But also at the same time, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and I feel like there's things that are more important than making tech videos, so that's why I haven't been posting too much lately. I hope you all know that. Like, I care about each and every one of you, and like, I want the best for all of you, but I also want to make sure that you're educated and your voice is being heard, because right now it's a time where we really have to self-reflect, and we really have to stand up for people's rights and people's rights to this country. And I do think right now is a great time to go out in peaceful protest, do whatever you need to do. But the killing of George Floyd was not good, and it was not something that I think it's something to frown upon, and I think we need to change the system. One thing that Tim Cook said, I'm going to kind of relate it back to this video. One thing that Tim Cook said was, if you want things to go back to normal, then you're part of the problem. You're the privileged ones. If you want things just to go back to normal randomly, then that means change won't happen. So you have to remember that normalcy right now is not a great thing to wish for. You have to make sure that you want to change something, because change is inevitable in life, and we need to change the way that police treat black people and any other person in the world. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.